The movie is called Drug Wars, Silver or Lead. The director and producer is Rusty Fleming. He's our guest. The movie came out in 2008. It's interesting. You can't go a day of reading the news without seeing another story of the drug cartel violence, not just in Mexico, but in our neighborhood. I think of friends I've had on the Houston Police Department here who've been shot and killed, shot and injured, delivering warrants, or on an average traffic stop. And, it's only getting worse. It is only getting worse. Rusty Fleming is our guest. Rusty, when you look at, I'm reading from one article, 14 mayors murdered in Mexico in just the past year. And since President Felipe Calderon declared war on the country's drug cartels 4 years ago, the death toll in drug-related murders, according to this report, is 34,612. So almost 35,000 in 4 years, 15,000 last year alone. So the problem is getting worse. Are they making any headway?
Well, I think headway's got to be measured in different degrees and in different ways. Have they wounded a couple of these major organizations by arrests and whatnot? Yes, they have, or killing. There has been quite a bit of shuffling amongst a couple of the cartels, like the Gulf Cartel and the Sinaloa Cartel. But in terms of, and I'm so reluctant to call this a war because it really isn't a war. I mean, if you use it that way, then you look at it and you say, okay, I kind of took it like we did with the film. Nixon declared war on drugs. And if you look at it from that tone, we're losing. We haven't gone anywhere. But if you look at it differently, more like it's a cancer, addiction and everything that goes with it, which if there wasn't addiction, if there wasn't people using it, there wouldn't be a supply problem. We do have the demand here in the U.S., but that's no excuse for the Mexicans to say, well, gee, if you didn't demand it in the U.S., we wouldn't be supplying it here in Mexico, which is a bunch of bull.
Right, but when you look at the violence, I mean, this is not a sustainable level of violence. I mean, as you noted, it's the most dangerous region in the world. I mean, the gunplay on a daily basis, and average citizens, elected officials, mayors, judges, police officers are losing, increasing numbers of them being paid off. You don't know who's on your side. And I can't imagine the Mexican people are going to support Calderon indefinitely if what they're seeing, the result is lower tourist rates, higher murder rates, and a sense of instability in the country. I guess my fear is, Rusty, at what point does the political pressure come on Calderon where he says, you know what, let's just coexist and let it go away?
Well, now you're just getting deeper. Okay, fine. That's that. And at the end of the day, you know what? It really does kind of come down to that. We all knew, those of us that have been in this for a few years, we've all known that where Calderon is concerned, he was probably the most serious, the most sincere of all of his predecessors about attacking the narcos and the whole drug issue. And he went to lengths at his own peril to do what he's done, or as far as he's gotten. I say that, and I tell you that ain't real far either, but that's still further than everybody else has ever gotten. The thing is this: the corruption that exists in Mexico is so far deeper than what any of us actually knew. The Mexican, Calderon even missed it. His old administration. I mean, they've had security compromised at the highest levels. I'm talking about his personal security,
sure.
Calderon's personal security.
Sure.
So, this obviously came to a big surprise to them. So obviously, about 2 years ago, they started looking into this, and what they've been finding has been horrendous. How deep and how wide the corruption goes. You talk about the mayors being killed. Well, there's several reasons you'd kill a mayor, but most of it is all about territorial control. Just so long as these guys can control the property they're on and not be subject to an arrest or extradition or anything else, that's all they want. Now, unfortunately, that doesn't qualify you as a narco-terrorist under the definition that they use in Washington. Except for this, and nobody's ever looked at this, Michael. If we really could, I know that Congressman McCall has been trying to make this effort of classifying some of these cartels as narco-terrorists, and then we could pursue them under the Patriot Act. And we could really step up what kind of damage we can do. But it is not politically correct to name a Mexican drug cartel a terrorist group, if you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
That's
no,
not that's not political. The problem is I could not support something where we just blanket call them all narco-terrorists, because I don't believe that. But I think we could start with the one, and that is the Zetas. These are the same guys that I document so much. I did a Gangland show about these guys, and this bunch of guys right here definitely qualify to be narco-terrorists. And this is really the scary thing. I saw a thing on Fox last night. They're just now beginning. They're finding all these teenage assassins, and these kids are coming up to the surface, and now they're giving the media reports of how they were trained to be assassins,
right.
How much they were making.
Right.
And, I was doing that. I did that three years ago.
Rusty, let me ask you this,
because
I'm going to run out of time, and I've been wanting to ask you this. A year or so ago, the head of the Sinaloa cartel, who happens to rank on the Forbes list of wealthiest men alive, officially thanked U.S. politicians for keeping drugs illegal. And obviously that's a raging debate if this weren't illegal. From your perspective, and particularly from the drug trade, the trafficking of these drugs, does legalizing, let's say if we started with marijuana, do you think that changes the nature and the violence that we're seeing?
I think it would change the game radically. I really do. I believe that. And I've never been a supporter of legalization at any level, but I will tell you that after I started doing drug wars, probably by 2009, I was into my third project down in Mexico, and it became very evident to me during those years. Marijuana represents about 60 to 70% of the bottom line of these cartel operations. Now that's a big broad figure, but you can kind of do the math on this. Now, if you're looking at a Fortune 500 company, which they are, they're multi-billion-dollar international companies. But you look at any Fortune 500 company, and if you rip 60 to 70% off their bottom line, they're going to be injured. It's going to bring them to their knees.
Right.
Now, is that going to stop heroin and crank and all this stuff? No, it's not. But it's going to severely injure the cartels. The other argument I've heard about that is, well, if we legalize pot, Rusty, my God, a 10-year-old will be able to get high. A 10-year-old can get high now.
Yeah, no, you're right. Rusty, I got to go to break. We're going to link. No, thanks for being our guest. Thanks for your good work. Keep it up. And I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. And one of them moving pictures, that's worth even more, but I don't know a number bigger than 1,000. The director-producer of the 2008 documentary Drug Wars, Silver or Lead. We've linked to it at michaelberry.com. Watch the trailer. Eye-opening. Good work. Good work. More coming up.
You think, therefore, you listen. The Michael Berry Show.